She had a dream. She was on the other side, quietly walking through the orientation center, a breathtaking oblong temple where spirits returning home were talking to spirits about to leave for another lifetime on Earth. She found herself at the door to a room with a vast wall of veiled glass. Curious, she started to step inside and got a brief glimpse of babies, for as far as her eyes could see, all of them happy and playing while grown-ups moved among them, taking care of them. My spirit guide, Francine, stopped her from entering the room. "You can't go in there, Angelia," Francine told her. "The babies are getting ready to leave." I asked Angelia what she thought her dream meant. She let out an impatient little sigh. Sometimes her Bagda, as she's called me from the moment she could talk, is so dense. "We can't come to be babies on Earth until we get little, Bagda." Francine informed me later that it wasn't a dream at all, that Angelia had actually made one of her frequent astral trips to the other side while she slept, and Francine, as always, had kept a close eye on her while she was there. "You mean that's true?" I asked Francine. "Our spirits literally get smaller before we enter the womb? Why haven't you told me that before?" She responded with an answer I've heard 1,000,000 times. "If you don't ask the question, I can't give you the answer." Now, in case you think these are just the ravings of a mad woman and her imaginative granddaughter, let me share an excerpt from an email I received from Carolyn in response to my request for stories about psychic children. When my oldest child was 3 and able to form sentences, he pointed to a portrait in our living room of his maternal grandmother, who died before he was born, and began telling me all about how much fun she was and how big her laugh was. I was shocked, since he obviously never met her. She did have a very big laugh, by the way, and I couldn't remember anyone ever explaining to him who the lady in the portrait was, so I asked him how he knew her. He said, "Because she took care of me and the other babies before we were born." He went on to describe how she would play with the children, about 10 of them, and give them lots of love and hugs. And he repeated, "You know, when we weren't born yet." So there you have it, the real answer to the question, where do babies come from? They come from a vast room with a veiled glass wall on the other side, where they go to play and be loved and cared for while they diminish in size to be born into their new incarnations. You also have the real answer to the question, why are all children psychic? Since my own psychic childhood in Kansas City, Missouri, my greatest passion has been researching, studying, and psychically exploring the fact, and it is a fact, that God promised each of us eternal lives when He created us, and He's kept that promise. Our spirits, like the infinite universe we inhabit, always have been and always will be. Birth and death are not a beginning and an end. They're simply events designed by us and our Creator in a perfect, unending continuum. We arrive here from our real lives on the other side, experience this rough boot camp called life on Earth for the further growth of our souls, and then head home again with greater wisdom and depth than we ever had before. Skeptics say, prove it. I say, open your minds and talk to a child. They're all the proof you need. Taken out of the context of eternity, the reality of psychic children can seem like an eerie, haphazard, inexplicable quirk of nature. Even the devil's work, an indictment that's been hurled at me so often that I'm tempted to ask my detractors to please come up with something more original. Out of context, babies are blank slates when they're born, except for their inherited genetic influences, and they're shaped by some combination of genetics and their environment. The debate rages on about how that combination works exactly, and why so many children seem to be reflections of neither genetics nor their environment. But in the context of eternity and the amazing journey that leads to the arrival of a newborn, there is no debate, and there are no unanswered questions. Like everything else.